How you doing? And welcome back to the Great Power Podcast. I'm your host, Shahzeb Malik. It's me and your boy Collin and We're out here. We're going to be talking about Uncut Gems. So Uncut Gems is a 2019 crime thriller produced by A24 Films, written and directed by Josh and Betty Safdie and the Safdie Brothers, as they're known. It's the
Yep.
highest grossing picture released by the critically successful entertainment company A24 Films, and it's already won a number of awards. And it is carried by a real monumental hit performance by Adam Sandler, who plays it's Howard. What's the last name? It starts with a B.
It's Howard Ratner.
Howard Ratner. That's all right.
Yeah.
Howard Ratner. He's a diamond jeweler in the New York Diamond District. In the film chronicles the rise and fall of Howard Ratner as a diamond jeweler and as a person. It's been described as like a 2-hour long anxiety attack. It covers the films or the themes of greed and success and betting it all and competitiveness. And it centers around these uncut gems from Africa. Essentially, the film opens up with these gems being unearthed in some place in Africa. These are like very, very
Ethiopia, actually.
yeah. And what happens is Adam Sandler's character buys these at such a low price, and he's able to resell them at $1 million or so. So you go ahead, Colin, make a joke.
Yeah. No, I just think about the line later in the movie where Kevin Garnett's like, "You fucking ripped these Ethiopians off and gave them like $1 million, like a $200 million rock." Like I just laughing a little bit.
Yeah.
It's fucked up. Yeah.
That's the first thing I think with this character is that, like, well, first the actor Adam Sandler, he's known as like a comedy actor, and he hasn't had that many hits as of late.
Yeah, no, not the critical darlings, but by any means, but certainly some financial success, I guess, if you want to say.
100%. And so people were kind of, taken aback, or excuse me, they were thinking, they were expecting something different with this kind of Uncut Gems film.
Yeah.
They weren't expecting something kind of different. They were expecting like the classic, like he's just gonna play it like a jokester, like he's just a schmuck.
Yeah.
But this is a schmuck who's gonna play it at the highest stakes. So it's pretty interesting to see how the character has evolved and in this film. And actually, so they tried to get this character going since 2007 or 9. They tried to get this movie going.
Yeah, I remember reading something, or I think it was like some interview on Conan, or maybe like Jimmy Kimmel or Jimmy Fallon, where
Yep.
Adam Sandler was talking about the Safdie sort of scouting him for the role for like a good 10 or so years. So this movie has definitely been like in the back of Safdie Brothers' minds for a very long time.
Because they said that they had seen him in Paul Thomas Anderson's Punch Drunk Love, which
Yeah.
was phenomenal in. And they said, "Wow, this guy has the potential to do serious roles." And it's like, why isn't he doing a serious role? And so they had specifically wanted him for the part. And there were a few actually script, versions of the scripts that had Kobe Bryant as the basketball player,
Really?
set in the, kind of opposite of Adam Sandler. But they obviously settled on Kevin Garnett, and it just fit perfectly because Kevin Garnett's set in Boston. He's in the proximity of Philly and New York, and with the timeline of sending it into the 2013 NBA playoffs, so April 2013, it just worked out very well. So again, the whole thing is Kevin Garnett is a competitive beast. And it's funny, because Colin isn't a sports guy, and Colin told me,
Yeah.
straight up said, like, I didn't know Kevin Garnett was a real basketball player.
Yeah, I just thought he was a really good actor. And he really is a good actor in this. I always get super worried when they put in because I thought he was so good. I was like, no, he's an actual athlete. Like no, he really is.
Yeah.
Because always get worried when they put in an athlete, like a wrestler, like a baseball player, or in this case, a basketball player, because they've never acted before. Like they're sports professionals, or not. They've never acted all that much. But no, he is really like you said, a competitive beast. There's not a lot of dialogue or like a lot said about his character, but the second he comes in, he does have this presence to him. Maybe because he is an athlete, maybe because he's a big tall basketball player guy. But no, he almost comes off as I want to say like a villain, but sort of like an antagonist in the film in some sense. Like
Yeah,
Howard,
he's kind of like a I would say a foil to some extent of Adam
Oh, hell
Sandler's character. He's, like Adam Sandler is short, white, mischievous, and Kevin Garnett is tall, black, and like dominant.
yeah.
Adam Sandler's character Howard is just like he's just like going away, like he's just making it by, or he's getting by as like a rat. And Kevin Garnett has got millions of dollars to his name.
Yeah.
And being a sports guy and knowing Kevin Garnett, as a player and as a person, from watching the NBA games, his performance in the NBA Finals on the Boston Celtics, starting the year as starting his career as a Minnesota Timberwolves, like. I have the background, I have the context, and I was able to understand, like, they did perfectly. Like, the Safdie brothers are what the Rooster brothers should be. I know we talked about, like, Safdie brothers are better than the Rooster brothers, and I will take that. I even said to my friend Marissa, our mutual friend Marissa, I said, I will take Good Time over Endgame any day. Good Time.
Oh, yeah.
I would take those films just merely from a filmmaking standpoint.
Of course, yeah.
Good Time, Uncut Gems, either of those films, tens times better than Endgame. And I don't want to hear the genre argument BS. Like, I know, like, these are solid films, and they're produced like Uncut Gems. Good Time had a budget of, I think, $2 million or 1.5.
They're cheap movies to make. I mean, most of the money may go to, well, in that case, Good Time was Robert Pattinson.
Right.
This Uncut Gems only had like about $19 million. So they've gotten progressively. But you think in terms of like comparison to what you brought up, Endgame, that's like what, $200-300 million.
Yeah. It's like pretty much what most studios will make off like the year in their box office. Like, that's like what Endgame's budget, like normal budget. Like, that's like, I don't question it. And I think that's like that. Again, this can kind of spiral off into a discussion of like of Hollywood cinema and how like the market is so saturated, and like, and people will just make these $100 million, $200 million films, and sometimes they don't always pan out the way you want them to. Case in point, or Justice League, that was a monstrous failure. Even Batman v Superman. You know what? I like Batman v Superman. I've said it before. I liked it. Okay, look,
that's going to be an interesting podcast one day. I have to rewatch it, but there's some stuff I do remember liking in that movie personally.
I thought it was cool. Look, it was a bad film. Okay, I'm not going to defend it and say it's an amazing film and people just don't understand Zack Snyder. No, he got it wrong. But it was a breath of fresh air, right? And sometimes like that's the only argument one can use. But I'm not. No, like I think that these are some very interestingly developed characters. I mean, seeing Bruce Wayne, Ben Affleck kind of take the brooding, Dark Knight Returns like Batman, and seeing Lawrence Fishburne as the the studio chief. What's his name? The character?
Perry White is the Daily Planet editor-in-chief.
Yeah, the Daily Planet, right?
Yeah.
It's very interesting to see, and then just the whole like the God complex. You know what I mean? Like, it's very interesting how they explored that. How like they got like Charlie Rose, who's a famous interviewer. They got all these different these thought leaders.
Yeah,
Neil deGrasse Tyson. They got them to do like interviews and stuff. I think that was pretty cool. It just kind of in terms of the real world building aspect of the. All right, but enough about Batman v Superman. We're gonna bring it back to Uncut Gems in good
real
time.
cinema.
Yeah, real cinema. But those films, I mean, like, so I watched Good Time over the weekend. Excuse me,
Same.
Watched Uncut Gems like the Friday or Saturday it came out. I think it came out Christmas Day. And it's funny. Like, so I live in a Muslim household, and like our thing, like on Christmas Day, is like we don't like spend time with family. We go to watch movies.
Oh, really?
Because it's good.
I fucking wish. That's my dream right there. Let's switch lives right now.
Because theaters are empty. Think about it. Everyone's in their houses on Christmas, and like we're just chilling. So we just go out to Cinemark at the mall and just go watch movies. But we're not gonna be able to do that for a long time. With this current epidemic, but. I mean, what's so interesting is to see the innovation of the streaming age. You know what I mean? Capone, Scoob. I even think that what other big film was gonna release on Black Widow was reported. There's rumors, like
rumors.
I don't think. I don't think so.
Yeah, no, I know Trolls came out and that broke a bunch of different records for like Universal. So,
right. I think like films like Black Widow, they need to go to the theater just because it's a Marvel film. It's a big picture, big
It's
budget. Like
like a sporting event. Like you got to go see
exactly.
the biggest boxing match, like the next big basketball game, that sort of thing.
And see, that's also kind of what Uncut Gems was. I mean, it even featured basketball games. So that's what Uncut Gems really is. A sporting event, and it's a very like you. But so I think like Marvel films are like sporting events, but you're just there as an audience member. But like, and you're just like all the way back up in Loudville of the arena. You're all the way in the back. But with
Yeah.
Uncut Gems, with Good Time, you have a front row seat. Like you are right there. You are being put through that stress and that emotional strife that these characters face.
It's like being a fly on the wall, basically. It is an experience. Like we always talk about, like, oh, like the action movie is amazing. Like, but no, this is an adrenaline ride. It is really putting you at the forefront of everything that this character or these characters are going through. It's an experience.
100%. I mean, when I was watching Uncut Gems and I saw, Adam Sandler's character Howard just being thrown around, Ramen just punch in the throat, thrown in the trunk, and thrown into the fountain. Like I felt like I was going through that too. And just the kind of the comedic, like what's good about the characters that he plays them with like a flair of comedy instead of like the overall goof. That he still got that fucking Adam Sandler laugh. He still got that.
Doing your funny voices and acting like the children. No, you brought up a great point with at the beginning with Adam Sandler's previous performances, but like it's almost as if I keep going back and forth with a lot of people on that because they see the trailers and they get a snippet of how he's supposed to be in the movie, and a lot of people make the quick assumption that it's just another funny Adam Sandler comedy, and they're not too far off the mark. The movie itself is serious. The circumstance of the character in is very serious, but it is still almost like a very Sandler character. He's still doing the funny voice. He's still wearing the funny costumes. At one point, he's beaten and thrown naked into the trunk of a car, and that scene in and of itself is kind of funny.
Right.
But it has very real world repercussions of it. It's like taking a Looney Tunes character and putting him in real life. It's like, okay, if he falls from a building, he's not gonna just go splat and come back. He will die, and that is very much in this movie.
That's what I think. Well, you really made a good point there about like this is like a real like it played. It's the context is this kind of like funny like timid guy who still has a confidence to him, but really this is what plays out that's just the context. What plays out is that it's a classic tale, the Shakespearean tale of the jester. That's what that's what Howard Ratner is. He's a jester. He's a joker. He's supposed to please the king. He's trying to get like $1 from the king. That's the king in this case is Kevin Garnett. That's what
gets the king's ring as fucking collateral.
And yeah, literally that's I think what's so interesting is that so Howard Ratner gets the Adam Sandler's championship ring off of him. And what's so interesting about that is, so I think one of the big themes I wanted to hit was greed, right? So throughout this entire film, it's centered around greed, and the whole idea is like as soon as he gets money, he spends it. As soon as he gets something, he pawns it. As it's just about what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And not like in a positive, like forwardist mindset. No, like a very pessimistic, like I just need to get all my money, like a rat. That's what he is. Yeah. Like if you what happens is Kevin Garnett recognizes that when he asks him like, who has the chutzpah, the brass nuts to ask Kevin Garnett for his Boston championship ring. Yeah. That's insane, right? But and for just like it, because Howard Ratner is an average guy by all standards. He's an average man, an ordinary man doing extraordinary things. That's what we see in this film, and that is something that is explored throughout the modern cinema. That's something that's explored. It's the average man, it's the ordinary man doing extraordinary things. And what Adam Sandler's character is like, he's straight up like, give me your ring. If you want this thing so bad, do it. And Kevin Garnett respects that. And it's reflected in the dialogue and the script. He's like, yeah, I can respect that. That's bad. And like, everyone's like, you probably shouldn't do that. Don't do that. And like, it's like, no, I respect that. And they're both competitors. And that's reflected in the end when he's like, this is me. This is how I win.
This is how I win.
This movie has been memed so much. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, another big quotable movie. The great indicator of a great film is how long after you're still quoting it.
The quotability, right?
Exactly.
Like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, even the Star Wars prequel films, they're all super fucking quotable.
Oh, yeah.
And excuse me, man, I had this Chipotle before. Not a good.
Yeah, I stay away from the Spanish food for that reason, man.
I gotta chill with this Chipotle, man.
Yeah, interrupting our fucking podcast. God damn it.
Chipotle.
Sponsored by Chipotle.
Yes, but yeah. Guys, I'd like to take a moment talk about our sponsor for this episode, Chipotle. Chipotle
Yes.
provides Chipotle. Sponsor for Chipotle.
Chipotle. This is how we win. Jesus.
I have like a Chipotle like hat on.
Yeah, hey. What do you think of my Chipotle banner here?
It's like no, it's Adam Sandler. This is Howard Ratner. It's like that picture, and on top of like his head is the Chipotle, and he's got a Chipotle hat, and he's got a Chipotle apron on. This is me. This is how I would.
Oh, I gotta make that. I'm making that meme after this.
Yeah, and captions like Chipotle getting free sponsorships through by making Shahzeb stomach go up and down.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh man. Okay. Anyways, yeah, but we know what this film was able to do was kind of take this like New York diamond jeweler story. That's something. It's like I said, it takes the story of the average man and puts it kind of like through mythological terms. The amount of bets that he's able to make, the amount of odds he's able to beat, and how hard he's able to keep hitting. Like the guy is going through, his marriage issues, his kids are finding out about it. He's going through financial stress. He's got like his mistress played by the wonderful Julia Fox.
Oh yeah. Oh yes.
Don't worry, guys. Colin's
by the
over.
way, it's her first. I think it's like her first movie ever. She actually did a pretty good job.
That's right. That's her first. And see, that's I think what these guys are so good with, Safdie Brothers, taking like younger actors and just putting them in the limelight. Like so one of the guy who plays the guy who works with Howard Ratner, like the guy who comes in complaining, like, oh look, they rubbed up my shirt.
But the fish on the fucking desk.
So that guy's a real jeweler in the New York Diamond District, and he actually made Tekashi 6ix9ine a piece. Yeah.
Oh, get the fuck out of here! That's nuts.
Yeah, no, I just found that out recently, and I was like. He was talking about like his experience working on the picture. Like he spent like years and years, working in the Diamond District trying to make something, and now it all paid off like by getting this kind of promotion opportunity to act beside Adam Sandler and to star in a Safdie Brothers film. Like, and that's also so this is Uncut Gems is like one of it's I think only the second big feature film that the Safdie Brothers have done. Obviously they've done a bunch of short films and they've done a few feature films, but like Good Time, Uncut Gems, like these fuckers don't miss. Like these guys, they're fucking. There's nothing but net. Like these are some good. These guys know how to make some good fucking movies. Like, can we get? It annoys me that these fuckers can with like a fraction of what Marvel or what DC,
quarter of a quarter of what
literally
like Disney would ever get.
It's kind of like a direct proportion of like all these like rich CEOs will still find who have like insane amounts of money, or like NBA players. Like there's like Allen Iverson, like a bunch of these NBA players get hundreds of millions of dollars in contracts and endorsements, and they're all bankrupt. Like they like a couple of them have it bankrupt, and it's like those rich people will find a way to screw it up. But like people who have like a fraction of what they have, they'll be able to be financially stable. Of course they don't have even close to as much money as they have, but they're able to, at least hold on to what they have. And that's like the same thing here. Like, God, it's just sometimes when the stakes become too high, I guess it's pointless. Like it's bound to get messed up. And I think that's kind of like how Endgame went. That's how like all these DC films have been. Go ahead.
I think a good comparison to that is something like a classic example for me, like the Star Wars prequels. I know I enjoy them too enough, and I know you enjoy them a lot. But I think a lot of what went down with those films in terms of the negative things was they had anything at their disposal. They had a limitless checks and limitless computers and CGI effects that they could use. And I think one of the best things about film is when you take about half of what the money that you have, and you get creative with it. I mean, Jaws, like look at the limitations of that film, because the shark kept on breaking down, that film ended up becoming more iconic, more scarier because you didn't see the shark half the time. You never knew when it was going to pop up at the time. I think especially with this film with like a budget of 19 million, they get creative with a lot of things. I mean, there's not a lot of sets in the film. I mean, it's basically takes place in New York, but like you get like a couple main sets, and like that's it. Like the two that that jump out at me whenever I think about this movie are, of course, the office itself, where Howard sells all his jewels. I think maybe his house that he has with Idina Menzel, and then at the end the casino where they try to bet all the money. That's like basically it. They make a lot with it, and we talk about how anxiety driven and like crazy adrenaline this movie has. Just think about the limited amount of sets they have and how like closed in and claustrophobic everything is. I mean, the end of the movie takes place in a door and then a fucking glass door that you have to like buzz someone in with the guy trapped in there. I think a perfect metaphor.
I think that's one. So first thing I wanted to say is like the buzz, like that's so. Because I mean, again, I don't live in New York, and I've literally never been to like a like real diamond jeweler's office. And just the fact that's like a point of that adds the anxiety throughout the film. It's like he's trying to get Kevin Garnett in, and it's not working. And he has to use like the shavings, and that's not working.
Shaving to do it. Oh my god, it's like it's just characters trying to get the door open. It's like how fucking anxiety driven does it have to be? And no, my family has been friends with jewelers. Not in New York, but when I used to live in Florida, everyone. It's exactly that. I've been in fucking jewelry stores and like jewelry offices like that. They're exactly fucking like that, man.
The realism. That's what these Safdie brothers, because they were born
nothing
and raised
feels
in
fake.
New York.
Yeah, nothing is fake. It's all real.
I think their dad was a diamond jeweler. I think that's what it was. Because I know that
I heard about that too. Yeah.
And but yeah, the other thing that you mentioned about sometimes when you get a huge amount of money, like and when you are limitless, excuse me, that sometimes is the biggest limit.
Yeah.
A perfect example of that is from the commentary for Spider-Man, the first one. Bruce Campbell was saying, what do you do when you have this timeless character that has so many fans and you need to do it right? You have to get it right. You don't give it to the guy who has had experience with a character like that and has had experience with multi-million-dollar budgets. You give it to a guy who hasn't had only that, has not had any of that. You give it to someone who loves the character, who knows the character, who knows the world, right? And that's what Sam Raimi was. If you look at Evil Dead and those earlier films, like I mean Sam Raimi and his friends, Bruce Campbell, they literally were just guys being dudes who just wanted to make films, and they decided they quit. I think they dropped out of high school or school. I just know they dropped out of school, and they got jobs as like waitresses and taxi drivers, etc. And they just were going around writing scripts and trying to get contracts, and then they finally Evil Dead worked out, and that's like what gave them all their start. And then I'm just so happy that Sam Raimi got that opportunity to direct the first Spider-Man film and then ended up directing the entire trilogy, because it set the tone for dynamic filmmakers who are in the shadows to bring them out. I mean, David Sandberg, who directed Shazam, like 2016, like he got a break with Conjuring, I believe. And before that,
it was Lights Out. It was part of the Conjuring universe, I'm pretty sure.
Right, yeah, it's one of the Conjuring films. And what he does is he is like, before that, like he was just a Swedish dude making short films, like just like a regular dude. And what does he do? He takes it's the Sam Raimi effect. I'm proclaiming it as the Sam Raimi effect.
I'd say it's a better Spider-Man movie than fucking Homecoming was. I like Homecoming.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and then that's even another separate podcast. But I liked Homecoming.
Yeah,
it was like a nice breath of fresh air, nice new energy. But that's different. What I'm trying to say is that you have these filmmakers. I mean, Martin Scorsese even. I mean, like he is a guy who was he just. If you ever get the ads for his master class on YouTube,
I get that.
First thing he says is if you're intrigued by movies and filmmaking as a career, I can't be speaking to you, or this class isn't for you. But if you are intrigued as he says, or if you can't rest and sleep until you tell this specific story, and all you want to do is tell stories, then perhaps I can be speaking to you. And that pretty much, that's such an iconic quote, and that sums up like these kind of filmmakers. Like Martin Scorsese, like he picks and chooses his projects. Quentin Tarantino, literally 10 fucking films. Like that is peak pickiness. And whereas like Rooster Brothers, like they'll pick up this project, they'll pick up this project, like, and I appreciate them for the kind of filmmakers they are. But like Marvel, like like the Marvel effect is very true, and it rings, like they just ruin the creativity of all these dynamic filmmakers. Scott Derrickson, I mean, of course it's great for him to be replaced by Sam Raimi, like I'm not complaining, but at the same time, like he was a damn good director. Like you saw the magic. He worked with the magical Sorcerer Supreme in Doctor Strange 2016. That was a really good movie, and I remember watching it for the first time in 2016 in November. Like, wow, they really did something different for once. And they got some good actors, and like they're not just phoning it in, which is what Ant-Man and the Wasp is. That's what Spider-Man Far From Home is. Like literally, what really made me mad? I went on Netflix and I saw under the comedy section Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yeah, but then again, the movie is called Ant-Man and the Wasp. It is, you kind of have it be a comedy, have anyone sort of take it semi-seriously. So yeah,
I guess so.
Yeah, we don't talk about Ant-Man in this house. That's not for us.
Right, that's right. No. Well, we're gonna talk about some good movies. So back to Uncut Gems. I mean, it's the realism is very, you know, relevant. It's shown. I mean, one of the sports gambling guy that he was talking to, Mike Francesca. So he is a Boston sports talk radio and columnist veteran. So like they're getting real people. I don't think they even gave him any lines. They just said sit in there and do your thing. Like Adam Sandler's gonna come in and ask you for a bet.
That's the thing. Every character, even like just small background characters who, like you said, don't have a line or have like one or two lines, they don't feel like actors. They all feel like actual people, as opposed to like a Hollywood movie that may get, you know, this guy or this extra or this intern or whatever. That, like they all feel
like
real.
A cameo or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like they don't look like pretty, like, you know, like supermodels. Like they look just like, you know, like schlubby guys or, you know, women or whatever.
Martin Scorsese, the Safdie Brothers, they don't do cameos. They get real people in their lives to come in. So Martin Scorsese, his parents, like, you know, almost all his films.
The
Safdie Brothers, you know, getting just guys on the street, you know.
Yeah, like you said, the jeweler guy.
Exactly. Like he's a real life diamond jeweler.
He fucking looked like that. He dressed like everyone's wearing like fucking Ed Hardy like designer t-shirts. It's like you just look at them like, I know how this guy smells.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, like really, really cheap cologne.
Yeah, exactly. Like some Giorgio Armani shit. It's like, oh my god, this guy.
Exactly. And you know, to kind of traverse into Good Time. I mean, there's so much. Like they could be set in the same universe. You know what I mean?
I mean, one's in Queens. One, I was actually watching Good Time the other day, and I was comparing it to Uncut Gems. So I think they're similar. I'm like, can we just get the A24 cinematic universe and just get like the Avengers of douchebags? You got Howard Ratner in this corner. We got Connie in this corner, and like whatever characters come next. Like it really there's a lot of similarities between the two films. Very different, but still some similarities.
And yeah, so Uncut Gems was set in 2012, and I believe A Good Time is just set in like 2017.
Yeah, whenever time that movie came out.
Because they had like iPhones, like the newer iPhone. That's another thing was like in Uncut Gems, like they had like the older version of Instagram. Did you see that?
Yeah, the older the 3G iPhones.
Exactly. And I mean, again, it's the attention to detail.
Yeah, little shit like that.
Yeah, and it is the little simple things that make the entire viewing experience that much better. That's what it does. Yeah. All right.
That was one thing I was a little confused about. Is there any reason why the movies took place in 2012? Did it line up with the whole Kevin Garnett thing?
Yeah. So yeah, it lines up with like the specific series that was going on. So like Boston was facing Philly in the playoffs, and so like the storyline is the exact same. So like you'll see when Kevin Garnett's like putting his head to the rock.
That's like real footage.
Yeah. No. That's what I'm saying is you'll hear in the background. There's like a voice talking. That's head coach Doc Rivers giving like it was like a really famous like speech that he was giving, and it was like it motivated the fuck out of them, and then they ended up coming back and winning the series. So and it lines up.
All right.
So they did really do their homework, and they did their research, and they made an effort to connect with the intersection of basketball, filmmaking, and hip hop. Like these three, it forms like all the big like startup media companies like Complex, Bleacher Report, Overtime, like all these big companies are centered around like the intersection of like sports, hip hop, or so sports, music, and entertainment, and that's like what this film was, and like it was a big deal seeing Kevin Garnett. Like once you get a guy like Kevin Garnett, an NBA Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer, you're going to get a good amount of NBA fans that are just going to come in. Kevin Garnett's doing a movie. Let's see how this goes.
Oh yeah, just see him, or like The Weeknd for that matter. You get a lot of Weeknd fans in there, even though he's in it for like 0.25 seconds.
Yeah, I want to talk about Weeknd, but first let's take a quick break, and we'll be back talking about The Weeknd and his performance in Uncut Gems, among many other things. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the Great Power Podcast. We have some big news.
Breaking fucking news. Big shit news, guys.
Big news. Reportedly, the Snyder Cut will be released on HBO Max. This is me. This is how I win.
This is how we fucking win, baby.
It's been a long road. It's been a long 3 years.
That's history right there. The history.
It's you understand me?
You understand me? That's history right there.
So yes, Justice League from 2017, directed by Zack Snyder, and then like technically not directed by him, directed by Joss Whedon. There was a lot that was cut out from that film, and the entire internet has launched a movement called Release the Snyder Cut. And there are a lot of reports going around saying that we should expect an official announcement very soon about the Snyder Cut and about its potential release to HBO Max. And Colin, you said there's like a trailer showed?
Yeah, it was a trailer, and apparently some footage from the Snyder version of the Justice League film premiered in that. Well, man, I don't know what that means, but I think I also know what it kind of means.
Yeah.
And that means we're probably getting that Snyder Cut.
Snyder Cut. I feel like we're going to get played, dude.
Yeah, they're going to pull a Doja Cat on us easily.
I was literally just about to say that like, this is a Doja Cat.
They'll put one of the deleted scenes in there, and they'll call it the extended super duper cut or whatever the fuck.
Yes. Why doesn't actually call it the Snyder Cut?
Oh my god, that's the thing. It's like how like much of Snyder's shit does exist where they could put it back in and call it a Snyder Cut.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. It's like a fucking. You had my curiosity, but now you have my attention.
Exactly. Man, if we actually get that Snyder Cut and it's like legit, I'm gonna be hype.
That'll be a podcast episode right there.
Yeah, we'll watch it. Watch it live. Zack Snyder and Warner Brothers, they listened to me when I said, "Hey, I actually liked Batman vs Superman. It was good."
Yes.
They listened. They're like, "Man, this guy, he's
Shahzeb really got a point. All right, fuck it, Snyder Cut."
He's got a point. Press the button.
Release the codes.
Yeah.
You're talking about the Weeknd and the Uncut Gems also?
Yeah. So, to bring it back to Uncut Gems. So, the Weeknd plays a role in Uncut Gems, and it's kind of interesting to see this background history of how, like, the opening scene, like Julia Fox just chilling in bed and tells how else to.
If you're listening to this in audio, I'm grinning from ear to ear right now. If you watch this on YouTube, you're also grinning from ear to ear. I know.
Yes, that's correct. She tells Howard, you want to stay mad or you want to come in bed and cuddle?
Yeah. Oh, God.
And then
Julia Fox, like, I've seen a couple of interviews with her, and she sounds like very, like, Valley Girl-ish, so I don't know how much of it is – she does great performance, but I don't know how much of it is, like, genuinely just her. She actually is just playing the character really, really well.
I think she brings, like, a sense of realism to the character, which is what –
yeah.
That's exactly what, like, pretty much every actor does, when they're brought into a world. So, like, all the, Italian actors in Martin Scorsese's films, they know the world. They, Harvey Keitel and Robert De Niro, Pesci, I think Joe Pesci is a perfect example of that because, like, he literally, I don't know if I told you this, but he's the reason why I told you this. He's the reason why Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, one of the greatest Italian-American music groups in history, met up. He put them all together.
Yeah.
And so the guy Tommy DeVito, who kind of like not broke up, but like led to the breakup of the group. He works for Joe Pesci's production company out in LA.
Yeah.
So it's like Joe Pesci is a perfect example of a guy who literally lives and breathes like Italians in Jersey, and in New York. He knows that world. And Bob De Niro, like he hung out like a block from where Scorsese used to live. Or and Al Pacino, of course, they're all they're all from New York. It was the podcast whose name we're not gonna, the Blank Town.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Nick Mullen's podcast. We'll just describe that as.
I'm embarrassed.
I'm very embarrassed.
I'm embarrassed. I don't want to say the name. I'm embarrassed.
Vice president, y'all.
You know.
You know. Oh, this is Jimmy Hoffa.
Oh my god.
I was watching the Dunkachino clip from Jack and Jill.
Dunkachino.
It's not Al anymore. It's
Dunkachino.
Don't mind if I do. I was watching that.
It sounds so much better with the Venoms, with the Venom song. It sounds so much better.
Oh, that's the best. No, I saw some guy. Speaking of Justice League and Jason Momoa, tag it along with the fucking Pitbull song from Aquaman, whatever fucking song it was. The remix of Africa.
Africa, right?
Fucking terrible. But no, I wanted to talk about that too. Seeing as how we're talking about Adam Sandler and all his performances, but I was watching that and it's cracking up.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. But yeah, it's man, what were we talking? We're talking about Weekend. So he it's like another aspect of the pop culture that is found in Uncut Gems and in the cinema that we are able to experience. And back to that scene. So like Julia Fox is like showing pictures of Weekend to I almost called them Uncut Gems.
Uncut Gems, man.
Uncut, where's my money? Uncut, where's my money? When the gems didn't get cut. I don't know. I didn't see the movie.
I just have a feeling there's going to be a whole generation of kids growing up now, and they only know Adam Sandler from this movie, and they don't like when fucking Bruce Willis walks down the street and says, "Oh my God, Bruce Willis!" It's "Oh my God, it's Die Hard." Everyone's gonna call Adam Sandler and "Oh my God, Uncut Gems."
Hey, are the gems uncut?
Are those gems uncut? Oh my God.
But yeah, and you say, so Julia Fox is saying like, oh, this guy's from Canada, but he's great, he's gonna be major, and look, like 6 years later, like he's the hottest selling R&B artist on the planet. So mad shout out to The Weeknd. Love the new album. Yeah.
No, that was one thing going into this movie. All right, going into this movie, not only did I not know that Kevin Garnett was an actual basketball player, but I did not watch a single trailer going into this movie. I did not think about the movie. I only knew it as that next Adam Sandler movie, and I knew it wasn't like an Adam Sandler comedy like Adam Madison picture, but I did know it's a semi-serious movie. I had no idea who the Safdie Brothers were. I had no idea who directed or wrote this movie. I never saw a Good Time before this. So going into it, I watched just the ads that played before a YouTube video,
and the memes.
And every time, and some of the memes, but I didn't know a single plot element who Adam Sandler was playing. Nothing. I thought Adam Sandler was like a cameo in the movie, and someone else was.
Oh wow.
I had no idea he was the main character, but every trailer made sure to say Adam Sandler, Kevin Garnett, The Weeknd. Always The Weeknd was in everything, and he's barely in the movie. He really is just sort of a plot device to get.
It's less than 5 minutes, really. He's
just that one scene. He's just a plot device to get Adam Sandler mad at Julia Fox and cause friction between that character.
Seeing them kind of scream on the streets is crazy.
Oh,
that's so real. You know what I mean? That's like Julia Fox. That's real screaming that's going on.
Yeah, no, she really fucking sells it. A lot of it makes you think, all right, because it's such a small movie, how much of this shit was just kind of filmed, and how much are everyone's how real are the reactions around everyone? Everyone just doesn't feel like an actor; they don't feel like genuine people.
Right, and exactly. That's what it feels. The world is so real. and it's like you feel like you're part of 2012 New York. And what's interesting is another aspect that I really liked was the family dynamic. Like he kind of has this like traditional nuclear family, and he just completely fucking ruins it by the money, by the affair, and
fucks up a marriage with Idina Menzel, dude. Like how the fuck?
yeah, like how do you do? So a funny thing about that. So I'm watching All American. I already watched the first 2 seasons on Netflix. Really good show. And one of the actors named Taye Diggs, he was also on Broadway or something, and so he was married to Idina Menzel.
Oh shit!
But then he screwed that up.
I guess just don't marry Idina Menzel. Marry Adele Dazeem. I hear she's better.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's interesting. I really like her character too because, that's another. So along with, I think what goes hand in hand with the family dynamic is the Jewish background that goes on. Like that's really explored. I mean, Adam Sandler is Jewish. I believe Josh and Safdie are Jewish. And so seeing the because I've never seen a it's called Passover. Yeah, I've never seen the Passover like in a movie, especially like a movie like that. I've never seen everything enacted and things like that. So it was nice to get exposed to that kind of aspect of the culture. And then the character, the bad guy, I forget what his name is, but his performance is also very good.
Arno, the brother, right? The
brother-in-law, right, or something like that.
Yeah, Arno. Yeah, he's a great actor, guy. I've seen him in other stuff. He pops up every now and again. I forgot his name. I pulled up right here. Hang on just a second. I've seen him in so many. He's one of those guys where he shows up, he does a great job, but you just forget his fucking name, and I feel like shit.
Yeah, he's really good in The Get Down on Netflix.
That's what he was in. Yeah,
he plays the record executive.
Fuck me, I'll butcher this last name. Eric Bogosian.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah. So so what they kind of explore is like the idea of the outsider. Like that's what Adam Sandler's father says is or his character's father. I think it's his father. Yeah.
His real life father or the
no in the movie.
Something like that, yeah, at the actual Passover dinner.
Yeah, and he's saying like, look, he comes to me and says Happy Holidays. It's like having an intruder in my own house, and that's kind of that's it's explored. Like, I mean, you see it like the whole cliche in American life is like, oh, you gotta if you're gonna marry a good Jewish girl, you have to do the Jewish ceremony. I mean, like Peter Parker did it, Henry Hill did it,
Yeah. Only the good half.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, only the good half. And that's the whole like just being like an outsider in your own your own family's culture. Like that's very interesting. And you don't often see it from like the Jewish perspective. You kind of see it from like whether it's like in Get Out, like Black vs. White. You see it in the shows like Rami or anything Hassan Minaj talks about. Brown in a white world. So it was interesting to see that here in this film because they really played it up. Because in the family also plays a big role in the big auction that takes place later in the movie.
Oh yeah. I think that was the father-in-law or something like that.
Yeah. He's told by Adam Sandler's character Howard Ratner to go in and just place be like a decoy for the
price so we can get it and he can't. Yeah.
The anxiety, bro.
Oh my fucking god! You can see the bullets. Just it's him sweating like bullets in that fucking scene, man. And you yourself are there too. Again, like it really everything's close. It's never a flat shot. It's always camera down in a seat, making you look like you're
close up.
Yeah, exactly. Close up. It's really uncomfortable fucking shots.
I mean, the film ends with a close up.
Oh fuck yeah, shit! The film begins with a close up in his ass, like.
Oh yeah, yeah, and that's the thing's coming full circle. It's a close up of, or it starts really in Howie Ratner's rectum, and then it comes out, and then at the end it goes. I won't give it away yet, but we'll probably talk about it at the end. It goes all the way in, and back into Adam Sandler's body. So that's kind of it's seeing it, and the camera represents kind of like a sentient being, like kind of because like what Scorsese
too.
Exactly. And what Scorsese does in his films is like if you see whenever there's like a murder, there's an aerial shot, right, and that kind of represents God. So like Scorsese, obviously being a guy who was going to go into the seminary, like God and Catholicism plays a huge role in his filmmaking. I think that Josh and Betty Safdie, they kind of do the secular version of that, where it's just like the force, or the whatever this light being is just around and it's watching, and it's represented in the camera, and that's what we see. That's our point of view, because we don't see this. I mean, obviously, like, to some extent, we see the film through Howie Ratner's perspective. Like, we're able to see, his losses, his gains, the bets being canceled, the bets being accepted, etc. We're able to see really everything, but it's more from like an omniscient perspective. I mean, even the music, so the composer of the music score is also the composer of the Good Time music score.
Yeah.
And he's done some really good work on this.
It's one of I remember Uncut Gems better than I did Good Time. I just watched Good Time too, so I don't know if that says anything, but it's one of the best scores, one of the most memorable scores in the last couple of years I can think of. There's just something really different. There's just something really like eerie about it. It's not like triumphant or like upsetting. It's just a very like it just kind of hangs on you like a dark cloud for while you're watching the movie, after you're watching the movie.
Right, and that's it's kind of like a because it's not like electronic and it's not like hip hop. It's just like this weird like. I guess it's like an acid trip or something. I guess. I mean, it's like that's kind of what this is. And who makes music like that? I know A$AP Rocky kind of delves into that bit world, but I guess Weeknd to some extent, where like the music kind of takes you on an experience. The music adds to the suspense, it adds to the direction of the film, and the using the to bring it back to the office, the Diamond office. I mean, shit goes down there like from throughout the film. Yeah, I know what you're talking about at the end of the film. All right, so let's talk about the ending. So the ending. What did you think of it? Did you like it? Did you hate it?
Honestly, I loved it. I thought it was the only way to. It's really weird. All right, so watching the movie, knowing absolutely nothing about it going into it, the plot or anything like that, I was shocked. I mean, spoilers. Yeah. If you haven't seen the movie now, leave. He gets shot. I did not expect it to happen in the least bit for the reason that I didn't know anything about the movie going into it, so that was not my first guess. And also, he fucking won. Like, he placed the bet. He fucking won against all odds. He fucking won. Like, holy shit, we should all be celebrating right now. Right. But what's the word? Arno and his goons basically, I guess, had enough. The goons really had it enough, and they just fucking cap one in his fucking face and just take all his shit and fucking leave. And then they fucking shoot Arno on top of that too. And the tragic thing about it is, like, Arno throughout the entire thing, like, he's doubting it. He's like, this guy's fucking just gonna like lose our money, and when we get out of here, I'm gonna fucking kill him. Like, I will actually kill him. And then he wins, and he's like, oh shit, he actually won. That's fucking crazy. Like, holy shit. And then just to see him just get shot like right there, and like throughout the whole thing, like, you can tell Arno fucking hates this guy so much. Admittedly so. The guy's a fucking prick. But he actually is proud of his brother-in-law for once. And it's so fucking tragic. But the second he got shot, I think I was like looking at my phone real quick to check the time. And by the second I shut my phone up, I hear a gunshot go off. I'm like, and like I saw the guy like a couple seats down, like jump up. Like it got so quiet, you could hear a fucking pin drop. I'm telling you. Like we talk about like, oh, you know what? Cap lifting Thor's hammer, that was a cool scene. The portal scene, that was a cool scene. Now, one of the best theater-going experiences was sitting there watching Howard Ratner get shot and everyone's reaction afterward. That really was one of the most memorable theater experiences. But honestly, it's the only way. I was thinking about it afterwards, because after I saw that, I was left such a not like a depressed, but like a really like foreboding mood. Yeah, I was thinking about like, wow, shit, I gotta think about that for a second or a couple days till now. But like I was thinking like, all right, well, if he didn't get shot and like maybe they just punched him or something like that, right? Would it still have the same effect? Hell no, because that's the movie. If it is anything next to it being an insane adrenaline ride and rush of an experience, it's a cautionary tale about greed, about just taking what's not yours and doing whatever the hell you want with it. And that I can't think of any more caution to it than having this happen to that character. And that's
Mhm.
having everything sort of come full circle around that.
I think Howie he lost his business the moment he bought those diamonds, and he
Mm-hmm.
lost his life the moment that he allowed those goons to get roughed up by Kevin Garnett's guys.
Oh,
And
that's right.
he said, like the guy was saying, "You're dead, you're dead. I'm gonna kill you." And it came full, like he wasn't joking. Like whether it was the throw punch in the park and throwing him in the waterfall, and then like
Yeah.
all the way to the end he killed him. Like he came in, like when you mess around in that world, and I mean, like Arnold or Arno, what you say it
Arno.
was?
Arno.
Arno, yeah.
Arno, yeah.
Arno, like he knew the stakes, but he didn't truly understand it. Like he knew that the moment he's gonna bring these guys in, it's not gonna work out well. And lo and behold, it didn't work out well. So
And
it's just
there's a certain point where it's like, all right, like how many times are these guys gonna rough him up and like nothing really happens, like before it
yes.
becomes unrealistic, and that's where that feels like a natural ending to everything. It comes out of nowhere because the guy just won, and you want him. It's so fucked up. Like he's such an asshole when he plays around with everyone's fucking money. But at the same time, you see him come so close to winning and eventually win that you want him. Like he's fucked up his marriage. He's fucked up this. And in a sense, yeah, he did it to himself. But I guess he had the best of intentions. Like he wanted to be successful. He wanted to be a winner. He wanted to be this. Everyone seemed as a good guy. And you look at him, and you go, "Fuck!" Like I kind of want him just to win once, see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw a really great comment under the YouTube video of the ending, which was, what's fucked up is that even if he won, and even if he didn't get shot, he still wouldn't have given him the money because that's how people like his work. And I couldn't agree more. It's so fucked up.
True. Wow.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
so
it
true.
really
He would
makes
have bullshitted something.
like this movie has so much rewatch value because you go back and you rewatch and see him make all these decisions. It's like, okay, like what would have happened if he just did this instead? What happened if the movie ended this way? Like, would it have been better? No, because speaking on behalf of, I've known people like this. I've had people in my family who are like this. They didn't get shot. Don't worry. I still love them. They're better people than this guy. Okay, this is a movie. Yeah. These people are actually real people. But that's how people like this work, man. It's fucked up. Like no matter what you do, they're really not going to learn their lesson until something like this kind of happens, or something close to it happens at least. So, again, cautionary tale. It's probably one of the best cautionary tales in film form I've ever seen. Period.
Mm-hmm. And I think you made a good point about like, oh, he just wants to be successful. Like, think about it from like a personal perspective. So I'll look at it from my personal perspective, and the viewer can do whatever they want. I want to be as successful as I can be. I'm a huge competitor. I love to compete. I love to just get people pissed off. Even the people I work with, like the people like the people who I am producing shows with, the people who I'm planning things with. I want to get them pissed off because I know that if I can piss them off, push them over the edge, and they can fight their way back, and they still have me covered. Those are the people I want holding my back straight. I don't want people who are just going to get pissed off and leave. And it's kind of like, to draw some comparisons to The Last Dance, which just the last 2 episodes aired last night. Like that's exactly how Michael Jordan was. That's exactly how Kobe Bryant was. Like these were assholes on the court. Like they would just talk as much shit as they want because they knew they could back it up. And that's exactly how he is. Like he literally talks about, like, to Kevin Garnett. He's like, your game, the way you compete, you're crazy. I see how you freak out on the court. I do the same thing in my realm, and that's how we all freak out to some extent. But not all. Some of us, we freak out. We get mad. We get sorry. We're like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. But not very few people embrace that aspect of themselves. The aspect of the competitive nature. We all have it within us. The kind of like the dominant being is all within us, but almost none of us embrace it. Only a select few are able to embrace it. And I think Howie ended up being able to embrace that side of himself. But I think there's a reason why people don't embrace themselves, because if you embrace that side of yourself and you don't play, you're not going to see safety. You're not going to see rationality. You're not going to see good morals, right? And he didn't, and that got him screwed over in the end. And that's so fucking enlightening, because it's right in front of us. We all have those kind of people in our lives that are Not
if
even,
we're not related to them, we've met people like this at
there are
least.
always people who will do whether they're interacting directly with you, or they were with your girlfriend or your boyfriend, or they're a
Stealing your
family.
fucking championship ring.
Like there's like leeches and rats, like they're all around, and it's just in their nature. Like they can't stop. I think that
It's an addiction. It's a fucking some kind of chemical imbalance or whatever. Like they cannot help it. And some can, but just keep on doing it, which is even scarier. Like, where is the distinction?
Right. Yeah, it's like that's perfectly right. You said it's a distinction between like sympathy versus like, dang, this guy's a complete asshole. Like he deserved it. I was like right in the middle. I was like, the guy's lost so much. Like he's lost his reputation. He's lost so much money.
You see him break down with Julia Fox at one point. Like that's
so interesting, really, isn't it?
That's the realest. That's when like we get to see real Howard. But the fucked up things, it's like, is there really a real Howard? Like, is he just doing this just to get sympathy out of Julia Fox? Like, I know he did just have his ass kicked, but it's like, fuck, I really feel bad for him. But at the same time, it's like, I don't really know if he's telling the truth. I don't know if these are real tears or crocodile tears. Like, it's really weird.
That's right. Yeah, see, this duality. That's really the duality of a man.
I'm not going to sit here and say that, like, this. All right, this is one of Adam Sandler's best characters, hands down. Yeah. Like, fucking Jack or Jill, fuck you, Jack or Jill. I'm taking Howard Ratner, all right? But, like, I'm not going to say this is, like, one of my all-time, like, favorite film characters, period, but this is definitely, like, one of the most fascinating, like, on-film characters I've seen in recent years, at the very least. There's so much to talk about in terms of his psychology and just the way he acts, like, what he does.
Right, and it's so thunderous, like you just feel like he could, because he speaks everything into existence. He says like, I'm going, like, I mean, at the end with the game, he says, let's bet on this. Like he's God.
But he just walked away after that. But no, he's like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna make a fucking bet. It's gonna happen. Watch.
Yeah, because what they the goons came in and robbed him, and like. And instead of just like giving him the money that Kevin Garnett gave him, and just walking away with his life and just starting like a new life with Julia Fox's character, like he just had to. But you can feel sympathy for it's the same complex that Joe Pesci's character Tommy Desmond faces. You don't feel sympathy for him because he knew the stakes he was playing the game at, and he loved it. He recognized the risk he was taking, and the same thing here.
Yeah. Hell yeah. No, it's hubris. It's what gets in the classic male ego sort of thing. It's like, I got to prove myself.
Exactly. Yeah. He's not going to stop.
Paulie says it in Goodfellas. He's got too much to prove. Like, there you go. Cut and dry.
That's right. He just, when you play the game at those kind of stakes, and you don't have any regard for how you're playing it, and you're just present, and you're just doing it as it comes. I mean, things are going to happen, and you're going to be okay. Like, literally, he's risking, like, Julia Fox's character's life. Like, I mean, she could have easily died, multiple times.
That's the thing, too. It's like you see what happens to him at the end of this movie, and it kind of just – it's another fucked up thing. Like, where you kind of have to take a step back and think about the movie because you're just so shocked at what happened. It's like, what the fuck happened to Julia Fox's character? What the fuck's going to happen to his family? What the fuck's going to happen with just the repercussions of this entire thing? Like, what
right.
Like, there's kind of, it's like you want to know the rest of the story, but it's like, fuck, this movie's perfect already. Like, I don't want to know anything else. It's like, what is going to happen?
And then this kind of diverts into, like, the sequelitis. Like, man, we need Uncut Gems too. We need to find out what happened to Julia Fox.
What the fuck would you do? No way. The second that happens, the second I shave my head, I become a monk. I'm going home. I'm going to the mountains and hiding.
Yeah, it's too much. It's too much.
What'd you do? Get fucking Uncut Gems of high school years? Like,
he's betting his prom ticket and stuff.
Betting his prom ticket.
Let's fucking bet on this.
Let's bet on this. You got him like even wormier and like than he is now, as it's all over his face and shit.
God, and you know what? See, I can imagine Adam Sandler doing that, like as like a joke film, like one of his Happy Madison films.
That would be an SNL skit in time. Give it time.
Yeah.
That would be it will be an SNL skit, and then it will be a very, very, the skit will be a hit. They will make a movie off of that, and Happy Madison will produce it.
So on the note of like, of the culture talk, like it's not being talked about in the halls of the Academy or with the Golden Globes, but it is being talked about right here.
Yes.
It's talked here. And I think that's what's so interesting is that, and I'm not talking about just like us film bros. I'm talking about like people in the culture. I'm talking about people in basketball culture. Exactly.
Yeah.
These are people who could care less about the film, could care less about films in general, but they're able to talk about it and that's the cultural impact there. And that's why, like, even though it didn't receive any Academy Award nominations, I'm fine with it. I mean, like, it's because it's not that kind of film. Like these films, A24 films, like, I mean, even though most of them, do get nominations and awards, like, or at least this specific type and like, Good Time and Uncut Gems, they serve as a big middle finger and a big fuck you towards the entire film critical establishment.
Yeah. Well, this movie in particular, that's something I've talked this film to death with like plenty of my family members and friends, and I've recommended it to hell to them. But one thing that I made a mistake of when recommending it to them is that this movie's not for everyone. Like we said, this is an experience. It's an adrenaline rush. It's not a happy ending. This movie is not for fucking everyone. If you got bad anxiety, don't watch this movie. Stick to Endgame and all that other generic shit. But
exactly.
Yeah. In terms of the Academy and well, I mean, we've seen situations where movies themselves will get nominated for like Best Picture, Best Visual Effects, or even Best Screenplay, and maybe some actors won't get nominated, but some do. And yeah, maybe it's because, hey, maybe this actor didn't turn in a great performance. Maybe this one did. Who knows? But in this case, it was very political. It was very kind of fucked up. And I mean, have you heard about why Adam Sandler kind of didn't get nominated for this film, at least in terms of a best actor, supporting or best actor?
I'm not familiar. Why?
Okay, so I think he came out and said, I think the Academy even came out and said something along the lines of, he is just not, he does not make the kind of movies that we here at the Academy put into consideration. They said they basically just said, we think his movies are shit and we don't want to nominate him. Not talking about Uncut Gems, but just talking about Jack and Jill and The Ridiculous Six, Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore, like all these goofy whatever family comedies. They're very easily accessible movies. And in terms of that, it's like, wow, like for the longest time growing up, especially, I didn't dislike Adam Sandler. I didn't dislike his films. I viscerally hated the man. Like I had a genuine like rage-filled hate for the man, because I would see movies like Jack and Jill, and I would see movies like, The Ridiculous Six or like Blended or whatever happened as comedies there are out there. And I would think, wow, we are being forced to see these movies. We are being forced to watch these pieces of shit. And then it wasn't until I got older where I was like, oh, wait, I'm not being forced to watch these movies. I don't even watch these movies. I don't pay to see these movies, so why do I care? And I have to respect Adam Sandler now. I respect him for this film because he is a great performer and he can turn in amazing, thought-provoking, fascinating performances. But I also respect him in the sense that, I'm a film student. This is what I want to do in my life. This is what I want to go out in the world and make. This is what he's making. And he enjoys making those kinds of movies with his friends, and he enjoys making those kind of movies with the people that, that you say what you will about Jack and Jill, say what you will about Ridiculous Six, but you do get a sense of camaraderie with the cast. You get a sense that, you get a sense that, like, all right, we're not making this to be thought-provoking, we're not making this for story, but, like, we're going to write a movie around us hanging out and having fun. And if he has fun doing that, I mean, he writes his own checks, he gets paid, and they're easy and cheap to make.
Yeah.
And if you get to do that and you get to piss off the Academy, spiteful ass Academy, while doing that, then listen, Adam Sandler, my heart goes out to you, because you're living the life, honestly. And he gets the best of both worlds. He may not get an Oscar, but he gets the People's Choice Awards, and he gets nominated. And like you said, he's being talked about by people in sports, and just some idiots on Twitter, and a couple of guys like us on a fucking podcast.
Yeah.
And he's got the best of both worlds, in my opinion. I respect
we don't sit here and talk about Timothy Chalamet. We don't sit here and talk about, fucking Joaquin Phoenix. Like, we don't sit here and talk about these fucking guys. We talk about the people who make the fucking films. That's what we fucking talk about.
Exactly. We'll give credit where credit is due, certainly. And I'm sure we'll talk about a movie one day down the line that has, one or both of them in it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I mean, we give credit where credit is due.
I think a big part of this is Hollywood is full of pretentious, entitled douches.
One second they're fucking praising, not to get like political or anything like that. I certainly don't want to be, but like you have one Oscars where we got Meryl Streep praising fucking Harvey Weinstein, but one where she's one where we cannot mention him even remotely. It's like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, just
Colin, this isn't political. This is not political at all.
No,
it's only political if one makes it political. If one ties this to some other political figure, this is real life. This is people's human lives and the degradation of that.
Yeah.
And again, I want to do a separate podcast about the Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, we need to talk about. I got some truth bombs. I want to spread.
Truth bombs. I got videos to show. Like even more.
I got diagrams. You see these?
Diagram. Yeah. Even it's everyone in Hollywood was in bed with Harvey Weinstein. They knew exactly what he was up to, and it's all out in the open. And they're all pretentious douches, and they're all sitting on their high horses saying this was a bad man, and like we're gonna cancel him, and me too. Which is right. You should be doing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you have no fucking place to do that. Where was that 10 years ago? Where was that 20 years ago?
Don't tell me you didn't know. You fucking knew something. Like, how did you not know?
You know who I really fucking hate? George Clooney and Matt Damon. They did an interview in like 2017 when all the shit was going down. I think I sent it to you a while ago. They did an interview on like Good Morning America or some shit, and I think with Matt Lauer of all people, the fucking rapist.
First of all, I just say this. I don't want to sound like that guy where I'm like, oh, I hated them before. It was cool. No, but I genuinely did not like Matt Lauer. I thought he was the biggest prick imaginable.
Oh, yeah.
No,
but yeah, I get you. And they were like, the virtue signaling, like, look, I gotta be like Jacksepticeye. I gotta put on my double seeing glasses to see the amount of bullshit from these people. Yeah. It's ridiculous. They're sitting there all cross-legged, like, I hope that my daughters don't make any bad decisions or whatever. It's like, what are you fucking talking about? That's what Matt Damon fucking said. It just makes, and they're like George Clooney was like, I just, I never heard anything. I was never, notified of any of this. It's like bullshit. You're just trying to make some money, trying to make a career. Early 2000s, late 90s, like you're just trying to make it, like you make with Ocean's 11, you make it with all these different films, and it's because of Harvey Weinstein. Even Quentin Tarantino, they're all in.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up. Well, in that situation, I think that's someone who didn't know. Mm-hmm. The second that happened, what did he do? He put Once Upon a Time in Hollywood on hold, took that out of the Weinstein's hands, went over to Sony and had that movie made.
Exactly. See, that's like, and that's where I think like there's some social responsibility on Tarantino's part, but like there's some people who they're not gonna make this shit political. They're just not gonna. They want to keep away from it, which is another aspect of like public life we can get into later. Like just people like Michael Jordan. What's explored in The Last Dance is like Michael Jordan. There's like a famous quote. He says, "Republicans buy sneakers too," and his whole thing was like he's just not gonna get political. He's just not going to. He's going to completely stay away from it. And there's like goods and bads that come with it. The good is like no one hates him, and like he can be clean, right? And like he's just the athlete, right? But the bad is like what happens when someone. So like what happened to provide some context. So his parents wanted him to endorse a guy who was running for an African American guy who was running for Senate in his home state of North Carolina. And this guy was running against like this like white Republican dude who was like super racist, like, and he launched a bunch of policies that were going to hurt African Americans and minority communities, and like MJ refused to come out and do an event for him, and he refused. But he would send like money, like he would send resources, like he would do that. And they talk about that, and that's I guess where a lot of people in the media were just like they kind of lost respect for him. But like Michael Jordan looks at it as like, look, I'm here to play basketball. Let me play basketball. Let me be the cultural icon I want to be. I'm not going to do anything.
Let me do my job.
Exactly right. Yeah, like if he wanted to do politics, he would have run for office. But
he would have been a fucking mayor or president by now. Yeah.
Like the most he's done with regards to like the White House or the Senate or whatever, he just went to accept the Presidential Medal of Freedom for President Barack Obama. Like that's it. Right. And that's not anything political. That's accepted. Like anyone would accept.
Yeah, I'm getting an award from a president. Like of course, yeah.
Exactly. But to bring it back here, like it's Quentin Tarantino, like that. See, I didn't know that. I knew that like he done it with Sony, and I was like, I had always kind of because he's done a lot of work with the Weinstein.
Basically all his movies were like Weinstein Company pictures. Right. Basically, that was a good number.
and you know, I've looked into like how like, you know, it's like a pattern of like what Weinstein was able to do and like how he kind of just took power over the industry. How he took over the Oscars, and he just put all the money in. And people want to come and tell me and tell, you know, like average Americans like that you're wrong, you know, because look, it's very obvious that Hollywood, they're like in an upper class. They are much richer, much powerful, have much more influence than most of us will ever have in our lives, and they want to come to us and tell us that we're doing something wrong. And this isn't even what I'm saying. This is what even some of the fucking actors are saying. Like Joaquin Phoenix is like, in his acceptance speech, he was saying like, we talk about like climate change, then why don't what I agree with that? What I agreed. I know I didn't like the speech, but I did agree.
I agree with everything he's saying, but I'm like, dude, you played a cartoon clown in a Batman movie. Just get up there, pull a Joe Pesci. It's my privilege. Thank you. Walk off. That's it. All you gotta do. You will win a jet ski. Just get the fuck out of here.
Exactly. But what pointed out was like, we talk about climate change a lot. Why do we have to take a private jet everywhere? You know, like walk your talk. Like I'm fine if that's like the position you want to take, but you better walk your fucking talk. It just, these guys just piss me off. But the one king in all this is Brad Pitt. I don't know if you know the story, but so Brad Pitt was dating Gwyneth Paltrow back in the 90s. And as you know, like she had some run-ins with Harvey Weinstein working under his company.
I've heard about that.
And one time Harvey Weinstein, so this is what the story that Gwyneth Paltrow told, is that one time Harvey Weinstein tried to make a move on her, she got away, and then the next time, like, so she like was crying and told Brad Pitt about it, and not like in close quarters, not in like a diner, or no, like on the fucking red carpet of some movie, Brad Pitt goes up to Harvey Weinstein's face and says, "You touch her again, you do anything, I will fucking kill you," or something like that. He like gets up in his face, and I respect the fuck out of that. And then since then, he never touched. Yeah, you know, Harvey Weinstein never touched.
He really pulled a fucking Cliff Booth on the fucking guy.
He pulled the fucking Cliff Booth. Hey, look, I'm not gonna say that Brad Pitt's like a perfect guy. You know, like
I'm sure behind closed doors, he's probably
just a Hollywood douche. They're all douches up in Hollywood, and
that's some balls, man. That's pretty fucking cool. Yeah, because how powerful it is.
Because think about it, Brad Pitt, like he could have had his career destroyed if that's
Harvey super early Brad Pitt too, you know.
Exactly. So. This is Brad Pitt. He hasn't done Fight Club. He hasn't done Seven, or he might have like just done. Yeah, I think because he and Gwyneth Paltrow met on the set of Seven in 1995. With they worked with David Fincher.
I think one of the biggest things he'd done at the point was make maybe an episode in Friends or something.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, imagine if like George Clooney, Matt Damon, Ben Affleck. Imagine if those guys had that kind of courage and did something. And that's why, like, I know I kind of got pretty animated, pretty testy with my conversation, my commentary, but I think the one thing to be taken away from this is that, I think there's some quote. It's like, bad men always win or weak men win when strong men choose to do nothing.
Yeah, it's familiar.
Something like that. And that's like, and I'm not saying like George Clooney and those fuckers, they're not strong at all. But what I'm saying is that when you're in a position before you've done anything and you're able to do something, you have all the strength in the world. So if you see something, you have to say something. If you don't have to go on social media and broadcast it, you don't have to tell every single person on the planet. But there needs to be some kind of quantifiable action that needs to be done, because Harvey Weinstein is just one of many predators that exist in this world. And he's the first one to actually like get called out for it. Like after that, then like Harvey Weinstein, then Kevin Spacey kind of got into, and like even Ben Affleck and all these guys, these so-called great actors, great guys, like they are James Franco. You've heard all this stuff with him, right?
Oh yeah.
What an asshole.
Yeah.
It's like, this is a problem.
Yeah.
One, from the cultural standpoint of like, this is supposed to be a great industry. We're doing something great. We're making people laugh, smile, cry.
It's all fucking guys.
It's all BS.
It's all fucking smoke shadow, man. It's not. Exactly. It's Tinseltown, and it's all fucking wrapped behind fucking child predators and all this other bullshit. It goes back far as time, man.
Like we aren't like fucking tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists talking about
this. This is true. This is like proven fact.
Yeah, and it's sickening because I like movies a lot. You like movies a lot. Why does there have to be all this terrible shit? I
Behind.
like people having good lives. I like increasing the standard of living of this country and of the world. Why do there have to be these shitty people in power that just constantly do these kind of things? And this isn't getting political. This is talking about the facts.
This has been the last like 2.5 to 3 years of pop culture and at least coming out of Hollywood.
Exactly.
It's still coming out. I mean, every now and then you get the directors coming out saying that, yes, I did this, and all those people
Brett
accusing me.
Ratner. Or
That
not
was
Brett Ratner.
not
Bryan Singer.
good.
Bryan Singer. My apologies. Bryan Singer.
Yeah,
Sorry.
man, Bryan Singer. But that's been a long time coming. Every time he made a movie, there's someone coming out saying like, yeah, I think he raped me. Brett Ratner, though, Brett Ratner's a fucking. People were just like, yeah, we know. About time.
Yeah, it's about damn.
Yeah, I think he said some shit about like Olivia Munn over Twitter like, a while ago. That was the whole thing.
Stuff.
Bunch of bullshit coming out of Hollywood. It's
See,
upsetting.
like Adam Sandler, it's like a golden. And like one thing I wanted to mention about like why like these guys making these kind of films is because they all grew up together in SNL. Chris Rock, Dave Spade, Rob Schneider, Adam Sandler, and then
Norm Macdonald.
Yeah, and Chris Farley. They all grew up together. Rest in peace. Like they all grew up together. They all came up together. And instead of Adam Sandler, like, because there's so many times he could have just gone Hollywood, super Hollywood, and just like signed a bunch of deals like Matt Damon. And instead, he decided to stay with these guys and make these mediocre films. But like,
that's what I really respect about him. He's like friendly neighborhood kind of guy.
He's a good guy, and
you see him come onto these fucking talk shows, and he's not wearing like a suit and getting all dapper. We get fucking nicer than he does for this podcast of ours. He's coming in there just wearing like not disrespectful. It's just how he is. He's the humble guy, just wearing baggy t-shirt, or jackets, and jeans, maybe a pair of sneakers. Like that's it. He
did an interview on Conan in 2012.
Yeah.
He was wearing like a green shirt and like basketball shorts, and I was just thinking, like, man, if I was ever fortunate enough to even go to a taping of a late night television show, I'd like dress up.
Yeah, I'd bet the most expensive suit in the store. I'd be like, I'm on TV. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like, and then this guest is like, he's literally a guest. He's just wearing shorts, and he doesn't do it to be like some super big thought leader. He doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. He's not douchey about it. He's just like, I'm just kind of showing up. Like that's it.
Exactly.
Not respect. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not gonna overdo it, and that's like the same kind of energy he brought into this role. Like, obviously, he's gonna come in as like the goofy guy, but he's gonna humble himself and say like, I'm going to like really go in on this role, and I'm going to give as good a performance as I can give. And he kind of even went into it knowing that like he's not going to do as well as he wants because his back is already up against the wall because of the Academy, right? And it's kind of interesting that, like, I mean, if I were in that position, I would just quit acting. I'd be like, screw this. I'm just going to produce a bunch of films, make a bunch of money. Like, why should I put myself through this if I know I'm not going to win any awards? Because a big thing amongst actors and directors is obviously winning the awards and the accolades. It is all about that. It really is. At least from their point of view. Not from my point of view, it's about what are you putting out? Are you putting out thought-provoking material? Is your work transcending the art form? Is your art including cultures and people who oftentimes don't get included? Is it really having an impact with? I don't care if it has an impact with big film critics sitting in their billion-dollar houses. I care about if it affects the person sitting in a one-room apartment who just loves the fuck out of films. Like there's nothing else that he or she would want to do. It's just love films and watch films and make films. That is who I want to impact as a filmmaker, as a writer. That's the person I'm going for. And it's the same strategy that, or not even strategy, just mindset and philosophy that like YouTubers like Brown Table and High Top Films have used. Like, they're not appealing to Warner Bros. and Marvel,
Yeah, they're the first to call out bullshit. They're the first to say anything about anyone.
And that's what we're doing here. That's what we're trying to do. Here, you video went out a bit.
Yeah, sorry about
that. That's what we're trying to do with this. Like, we're not like making this for like, for Simu Liu, who's gonna play Shang-Chi. We're not for him to listen.
This is not the MCU Exchange podcast, guys.
Exactly. This is, two guys who just love film and television who are going to talk about everything relating to film and television.
Like I said, we give credit where credit is due. We talk about the good, we talk about the bad, we talk about the ugly. That's what we were trying to here to do.
And we're not going to bullshit you. We're just not.
I'll try not to.
when we first started this program in November, I remember you told me the moment that this
Yeah.
becomes anything like Collider, where we're like getting paid for
Wider.
stories and we're just, phoning it in and we're just sucking up to MCU and Disney, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
And that set the tone for me. I mean, I was going in with that same kind of mindset, but it really led, because that's like a thing that I talk about with Mike, who runs Serial Killer Chronicle podcast. Check that
Yeah.
out. And also runs the sports page on Instagram at unbranded.sports. And he kind of like we talk about, like, we don't post like clickbait content. Like,
Yeah.
sure, we might post like, content that's like short and it's like it's good, but it's always going to bring you value. Our number one thing is we want to bring as much value as we can. Like, this is almost an hour long, more than an hour. We're just talking about film culture, the culture around the entertainment industry. Like, this is long form, in-depth discussion, and I think it's bringing a lot of value to people. People can be like, oh no, we don't care at all, but I just know that it's bringing a lot of value to me. It's bringing a lot of value to the people who faithfully and consistently listen to our podcast, who support us. And really, that's our goal. Like, we're not trying to like get noticed by some big company and get acquired, and I was just reading. So there's this podcast called Call Her Daddy on Barstool. So Barstool Sports, if you're familiar.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting is that these girls, like, they were like producing and editing this podcast, and then Dave Portnoy of Barstool Sports, who's the president of that company, he comes in and offers them a 3-year contract, a long-term contract for 3 years, $70K a year for both of them each, to just do this podcast. Like, that's all they do, is just a podcast, produce and edit. Obviously, like, this is like very, very low maintenance. I mean, just because I think anything that isn't like meeting up to my standards is low maintenance. But anyways, like, but imagine, like, you get paid $70,000 a year to do a podcast, and then what do? They go in and I think after the first year, they ask for a raise, which I respect. Like, get your money. They go in and they get paid like roughly like $500,000, $400,000 a year. Can you believe that? And I think it has to do with like the amount of downloads they're getting and like the merch and whatnot. But still, hundreds of thousands, like very up there with 6 figures. And then now, like, again, this is like a cultural things that I want to talk about. Like, now it's all coming crashing down. Like, the podcast is like it's like broken up because, like, this person wanted to, like, one of the girls, so it's hosted by 2 girls, and it's essentially just gossip. Like, they talk about everything. I'm not a girl, so I'm not really gonna be inclined to listen.
True. I don't feel like
Exactly. Like, it's just really, I can see how it appeals to girls.
Yeah, sure. Not knocking it. I just personally,
right. Yeah. I mean, like, it's like there's like, like, I mean, for me, it's not just a boy girl thing. I mean, it's like the same kind of thing as like what Jake Paul's, or not, Logan Paul's podcast, the Impulsive podcast. Like, it's pretty much, they're very similar in the dynamic. Like, they interview like really weird guests. Like, they're very raunchy. It's very like very intimate, and like, I don't like that kind of stuff, and that's just me. So I mean, for most people, it could be a boy girl thing. For me, I just don't like that kind of production. I don't like that kind of content. I like something that's long form, in depth, and sure, that can be in depth too, but I mean, it's just personal preference. Anyways, and so now, like, for whatever reason, there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of details surrounding this thing. And for whatever reason, like, the 2 girls have, like, they're not producing the same podcast together. And, like, from the way they made it seem, it was like that they were like, slumming it in New York, and because they live in New York, and that they weren't making any money. It's like 6 figures. You're making 6 fucking figures. And you're going to add, because they were complaining about, like, they weren't getting as much money as they wanted and stuff like that. And I just thought to myself, if I even get offered like $50,000, like that's less than their
like a quarter, like a fraction of that.
If I get offered $25,000, $10,000 to do a podcast, right? I would take that offer like that.
Yeah,
and I would hope and pray I don't mess it up.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. You could just be up like Colonel Sanders in the middle of the fucking podcast, like for 10,000 alone. Let alone 600,000 or 60,000 or whatever.
And this, I want to clarify, this is not like just doing a podcast. Motherfucker, I run, like, I help produce, like, up to 10 podcasts on our
Yeah.
network. So I know the fucking work that goes into producing
Even
a
if
podcast.
you were, it's not 100% easy. You still got to watch, like in our case, we got to watch the movie, we got to take notes, we got to, like, be up to date, we got to, keep on track and, like, get back on track anytime we do, go off
But
track.
it's a passion. And to be able to
Yeah.
do your passion for a living and a good living, like 70,000 in New York, that's probably nothing, but
No, that's it's chump change, yeah. That's allowance.
Yeah, it literally is. And all. But I mean, for that to get up to like roughly 500K, regardless, like there was people saying, oh no, that they only got 500K because of the bonuses or like they, like whatever. Regardless,
500 more than I'm getting. 500 more than most people are getting.
Not even just the podcast. Like, how much money are we making in our lives? Like nothing.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And I think this kind of, I don't know why. I just want to bring this up because it's on the culture, and it's interesting to see how like YouTube culture, influencer culture has influenced, this kind of thing, these kind of things where there's so much money out and like there's two ways you can go about it. You can do the viral fame where like you get it all at once and you just have like you're just a joke like Jake Paul and Logan Paul.
Yeah, the shock jock sort of
exactly.
stuff.
Or you take time to build it up and build a loyal and consistent audience. Someone and some people that are going to stick with you and understand you and are there, which is like more wholesome content, like PewDiePie, Matt Diavella, Casey Neistat, High Top Films, of course. Like those guys, like they know and it's like I'm obviously trying to do the latter. I'm not trying to just like post a viral video of me saying like dropping an F-bomb or something and then like I'm like famous. Like I'm trying to be authentic. I'm trying to be straight to the point. I'm trying to just because I think this is something that a lot of creators and a lot of podcasters and whatever and whatnot find creatives find in the creation and the creative process is you find solace. Like you have so many problems, you have so many things that are going on in your life, and you just feel at home. You feel happy. You feel safe when you're talking about like I would kill to do. I just said like I would take a $10,000, $20,000, a salary to just live, breathe, eat podcasting. And this is what I love to do. And I'm not going to just defile it, to make some money or to, to just put on bad content. And that's one thing that I'm going to make sure like that the moment that Unbranded becomes our company, Unbranded News, the moment that it becomes corporatist, the moment that it becomes part of the establishment instead of anti-stuff. Like our whole thing is we're not a big company. We're not part of the establishment. We're not motherfuckers who have unlimited amounts of money. We're not the mainstream media. We are literally ragtag high school, college kids who love talking film, sports, music, anything really regarding the pop culture. And we're going to voice our opinions.
And good or bad, yeah.
Good or bad. Like, we're going to get called out for our shit. Like, we've been called out for stuff before. Like, people haven't liked our content. It's fine. Yeah. That's what it is. Experimentation, good and bad. Yin and yang. You figure that shit out.
We'll take it the constructive criticism to heart with certain things we need to do. But if it's just criticism for criticism's sake, it's like, all right, well, if you don't like it, then you don't have to watch it. We're not making you.
Exactly, and that's for me. I feel like this is like an escape. It's very escape. I mean, we talked about like with film, like it's escapism for a lot of people, and that's what it is for me. Like podcasting, like I just feel safe and alive. Like some people who listen, they'll like DM me and be like, "Hey man, like you really have like the voice for podcasting, or you have like the voice for like acting, for voice acting and stuff like that." And it's like I've always kind of had that aptitude for broadcasting, and I've always been passionate about this kind of stuff. And it's very interesting to see. So it's actually, it's going to be coming up on a year that we launched the first podcast. It was the Hoop Show and the Cleveland Sports Scene. There were just two sports podcasts that we launched. May 31st is the year anniversary. More stuff on that, but it's amazing to see how far like we've come. Like we grew from like just like the one or two podcasts, like we're up to like 10. We're going to be launching more. And like, yeah, sure, we're not like making a lot of money. Yeah, sure, we're not like growing significantly, but we are making money and we are growing. I think that's what matters is you don't. That's what, like one thing that Gary Vaynerchuk says is like, don't for 1 second look at how many YouTube subscribers you have. Think about how your content is read. Go to the comment section. And that's what Gary Vee said. It's funny, like a lot of people who meet Gary Vee, they'll say that like, and they do interviews about their interaction with Gary Vee. They're like the moment you dap Gary Vee up, he knows exactly who you are, where you're from, what you're about, and it's because Gary Vee loves learning and consuming information. And he says all the time, I go to the comment section. My bread and butter, my bottom line is the comment section. I want to see how are people thinking about my content, and not, obviously like not the criticism for criticism's sake, but like constructive criticism. What are they liking? What are they not liking? And re-engineering your content based off that. That is where you lie, and it's exactly what we've done. Like we're not trying to cater to anyone really, any specific. I mean, obviously we're trying to make good, wholesome content, good, legitimate content. But we're not trying to like please any specific person. We're just trying to please ourselves. I think if you cannot satisfy yourself with your work and what you're putting out, you will never be able to make someone else happy. I am totally happy and content with the content we're putting out now. Obviously, I want to keep pushing. Like I'm like, motherfucker, like we gotta.
It's step one, or not step two. There's still plenty more areas we can go, and there's still plenty of. I mean, just you can say that with just about anything. There's still areas to improve, and you should always look to improve certain things.
That's right. It's about growth, improvement at any cost. Like MLK said, like if you cannot run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. But by any means, you must keep moving forward. Yeah. And that's what this is what the shit is about. Like if you and like what Gary Vee says is like, all this like looking back shit is giving you whiplash. It's fucking with your neck. And that makes sense, right? If you're driving a car, right, and you're just looking back the entire time, you're gonna fucking crash. That's why when you're driving, you're focusing on what's ahead of you and getting to point A to point B, right? And the same thing can be said with your life. Mentally, you're doing mental jumping jacks, and you're doing mental gymnastics to try to please other people or to try to look back on like what happened. But fuck all that. Like you can't. Like the moment that you decide to look back, like you have lost. Doesn't mean you can't like win your way back, but it does mean that you have lost, and it's up to you to make that kind of decision to like commit yourself to something bigger, better than yourself, and work at it. And that is what this thing has been with podcasting. I remember like in October, November, like when I approached you about started the Great Power Podcast, like you knew jack shit about podcasting. Like you knew like you did like YouTube videos, like you had done those kind of reviews. And obviously you're a fucking film student, so you know some shit about film.
Yeah, not a film stuff, yeah.
but it was like a learning curve. It was like a learning process.
Yeah.
And seeing the growth is astronomical, and same thing with like the films page and the account, like, what we're trying to do there. Like, obviously it hasn't been going as well as we've wanted to. I mean, like the world is literally ending here. So it's kind of hard to focus on that.
Yeah.
But we're just trying. And I think that's all you can do is try. Like you're not supposed, and I think you're not really supposed to win all the time. I think that's what Gary Vee talks about. He says, I love losing. And I've never heard that before. I knew right when I heard that, I was like, this motherfucker's different. This guy's different. Like this guy says he loves losing. Like this is different. And what he's saying is like,
something to be had and learned with failure.
You learn so much more from losing.
Exactly. Not to say go out there and lose, but just try your hardest and learn from where you went wrong.
You have to try.
Yeah.
Like Jordan says, like, I can accept failure, but I can't accept not trying. And that speaks volumes because, I mean, like you can't just phone it in every time. You can't just wake up and just force yourself out of bed, right? No. Because it's not good for you, and it's not going to be good for anyone. You can't force yourself to do something. You have to be actively present in everything you're doing, right? You have to enjoy what you're doing. You have to be committed to what you're doing. You have to live, breathe, and look forward to Monday. That's I think that's really what the cusp of all this is putting your head down and working as hard as you can. Saying fuck you to the naysayers and just focusing on what you want to do, not like what anyone's expecting of you or what people want you to do. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, it's your life and it's your decision, and you have to make your decisions for yourself, not for anyone else. Because, like I said, it is your life. You are the one who has to wake up in the morning. You are the one that has to get out of bed. You're the one who has to work out. You're the one who, like, and that's what Gary Vee also talks about. Stop watching my video. The goal should be for everyone to stop watching Gary Vee's content and to start enacting it in your life. And that makes a lot more sense. Like, that's literally what he's talking about is suicide for his content. Like he wants people to stop watching, and what the hell? I want people to start watching us, you know? But his whole thing is, like, with his content, he wants for people to consume it, understand it, and then implement it in their life. Well, whether it's business advice, whether it's, self-growth, whether it's work-life balance, whatever it is, finding some balance. You should be able to do that for yourself and then start living it. So you can't keep watching videos of push-ups and think you can, build your body up. You can't, watch people achieve financial success and think it's just gonna happen. It's not.
Hey, you gotta go out and do.
You have to go out and do. Exactly. I mean, we've set a goal. I think goal setting is another interesting concept that we've really, refined, that I've refined in that both in my personal life and for Unbranded. It's setting goals. You set, achieve, and exceed goals. A three-pointed philosophy that I live my life by. You have to have a clear vision in setting your goals. You have to work to achieve those goals and meeting those expectations. And then you have to exceed that goal. You have to exceed those expectations. And you at least have to shoot for it, right? And I think it's a split 67-33. 67% of what I do is planning and achieving. And then the other 33% is why I'm so good at what I do and why I've achieved some success already and why I'm going to continue to pursue things. And this is something I was talking about with my friend is holy shit. I just had a realization, I have the capacity to do a lot of things, I will get burned out, at the end of the semester. And for a day like this happened, Friday, the semester ended. Saturday, I was completely burned out. I was talking to my friends. I was saying I don't know if I could do this whole, Superman act that I'm doing, running a business, being a full-time college student, while also be a high school student and being an activist, doing activism stuff and coaching basketball and doing all the things that I'm doing and then literally, running all these pages and all these podcasts, and trying to have a social life. It's pretty hard to do all that. And I was I don't know if I can do it. And then the following day, an opportunity came my way and I was just all right, now I'm back in the saddle. I'm back to, achieving, exceeding, or achieving, setting, exceeding. And it's that's something that has worked for me. Is I kind of feel dependent on the whole Superman act. I kind of feel dependent on doing everything that I can. And yeah, sure, there's some drawbacks, I think one thing is it's hard for me to connect with people on an emotional level who aren't as, who don't have the same, drive that I do, who don't want to chase things the same way that I want to.
Right.
And I don't see all this to hype myself up into kind of, maybe I'm some guy, I'm jack shit, bro. I'm not even, I'm just getting out of high school.
It's your mindset and your business model, essentially.
Right. What I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
It's a lot, but
yeah,
it's just some people are built for it, some people aren't.
Yeah.
If you can recognize that and you can do something with it, there's no limit to what you're able to accomplish. And I will say there's a lot of drawbacks. There's a lot of sleepless nights. There's a lot of late nights, early mornings. There's a lot of rejection that you have to face. The first company that I formed and so originally background, I worked for some other guy's website, sports website. I joined him in August of 2018, and then till May of 2019, I just worked as a staff writer. And then I decided with Jorge, my good friend who's a podcast manager for us now, I said, let's take this website and make it better. Let's take on leadership roles. So then I was editor-in-chief of that site. That it started popping up. I increased the views from 300 to 3,000 views daily. The staff increased. Originally it was just basketball, and now it's all sports. It was a pretty big achievement. And then in June, July, we decided to leave and form our own thing. It was Atletus Sports, and that shit failed. It was a complete failure. We had the website, we had an Instagram page, but it just never clicked. And both the business partners left, and I was literally left by myself. And I said, all right, we're just gonna fold. We folded, and then I decided I talked to you, I talked to Mike, Jack, and I said, let's start this new thing. Let's call it Unbranded. And our whole thing is because I think what we try to do is we try to compete with like the biggest companies like Bleacher Report, ESPN, etc. Like try to get up to them, but we didn't realize where we were and like where we're gonna be for the next like 5-6 years or so.
Yeah.
And so like what we're doing now is like, in November, so January was the official launch. We decided we're just going to do the slow build. Like we are not going to focus. Obviously, we have to have business structure. We have to have plans. But like in terms of, contracting and advertising and stuff, we can wait on that. Let's focus on developing the content. Let's focus on assembling the team. Let's focus on opening these streams, right? And then we can attack later. And that I think has worked really good for me. And so there's a lot of failure that you have to experience before you can achieve some success. And that is something that I've experienced at a small scale. All the greatest people in the world have experienced that at the largest scales. Steve Jobs was literally removed from Apple as CEO in the 80s, and then he came back and fucked shit up and like changed the world. Mark Zuckerberg faced a lot of legal trouble over Facebook, and like now he's like upending our democracy. And even our president, Donald Trump, like sure there's some aspect of him being a fraud. I'm not gonna get into it, but like I mean the guy defaulted on a lot of his businesses. He was able to come back, and it's to some extent you have to face that failure. You have to face it because you're going to experience it one way or the other. It's whether you can either face it and like move forward, or you can just like cower in fear and just and that's something that this theme of like facing your fears and facing your failures is something that like the Dark Knight trilogy really explores. Is like Bruce always has this like fear of bats. He has a fear of like of failing again because he failed his parents. Like he wasn't strong enough. He didn't defend them, whatever. And that's why he goes Ra's al Ghul. And that kind of, and obviously in the second film with Joker, literally taking over the fucking city. And in the third one, like he's this old man, and like now like the city is being overrun by terrorists. Like what has he got to do? And it's all about rising. It's about rising to the occasion. Like your life is an occasion, and you got to rise to it. And if you're unable to do that, then you've missed your opportunity. And you shouldn't. Like you owe yourself more than that. And that's like our whole thing with this podcast is like we just love talking about films. We love talking about the culture around these films. We love making these jokes. And this was an opportunity. I remember like when I first sent you that text, I was like, hey, I might have an opportunity for you. Like, are you free for a call? And you're like, yeah, sure. Just give me a minute. I called you and I said like, hey, I'm thinking about launching this podcast called like, I didn't even say the name because you came up with the name, but I just said like a name, like, or I just said like a film and television podcast.
That's a general thing.
Yeah. And I was like, would you be interested in hosting? And like, you just like took a minute, your apology, like, dude, I'm so fucking honored. Like, I would love to do it. And right then and there, I knew that's all I needed to know. That's all I needed to understand in order to, see where this was going to head. And, and same thing with like the film page. I was like, yeah, I want to change Rain a Demon to like a film page. And you're like, dude, I'm so fucking honored, and, it's not like I'm giving you something that's like of immense, value from other people.
I give me like a golden scepter or anything like that, or like the keys to the city. But it's definitely
for
something.
Us, it is.
Yeah.
For us, it was. Because that's like where we met, and like there's a lot of intrinsic value in these kind of things, and that's why you can't put a price on this podcast. You can't put a price on this company. You can't put a price. I mean, when we get bought and sold, like then you can put a price on it.
It's coming.
It's coming. Yeah, you can put a price on it, but like. I mean, you can't put. I will never put a price on the interactions that you and I have had on this podcast. Another thing, like Collin and I have never fucking met in real life.
Oh yeah, no. You live in Ohio. I live in Jersey. Like we've never touched foot on the same ground ever.
Exactly. I think that's another interesting thing that I'm not sure that the audience knows.
But we're having this, this amount of length of conversation. I thought, well, we've known each other from this.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're literally internet friends.
Yeah, exactly.
But we're able to immediately connect and we share a lot of the similar interests, and we both had that same kind of drive. And I mean, I think from my perspective, what I've been able to do is I've been able to see in people what they can't see in themselves. Like, I mean, Collin, like you were just like kind of like chilling, doing like the cosplay stuff, and like you would do like the lead up to Endgame, the lead up to Infinite Wars and stuff post like an Infinity War, like you would do that stuff on your page, but like I was just thinking, like, he has the real aptitude for this kind of stuff. Like, what if he just got a shot and I was able to, like, kind of give you an opportunity? And I'm not taking credit. I'm just saying that I just kind of opened that door. Like, the thing is, you could, like, you can lead like a horse to water, but only the horse can drink from it. Like,
exactly.
I opened that door for you. You're the one who ran through. You're the one who developed the pod. You're the one who, like, advertised. You're the one who, like, really set the tone for what this and the idea and what this podcast should be. So, that's kudos to you. And I'd like to think that your life is better for it. And I like to think that this is like it's a great experience for you.
Rest easier, yeah.
Oh, that was interesting.
Yeah, lengthy, yeah. Uncut Gems, everyone.
Yeah, Uncut Gems. All right. Well, I think we're going to call it for today.
Yeah.
Good. It was a good discussion. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys have stayed this long, it's probably up to like 2 hours now.
Maybe.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys tuning in and supporting the Great Power Podcast and all the other podcasts on the Unbranded News Network. Please check us out on Instagram at unbranded.films. And if you have any questions, I believe our email is greatpowerpod@gmail.com. I'll check that out, link in the description. Please share the YouTube channel, like, comment, and subscribe. And please stay safe and continue to watch good cinema.
Good cinema. Great cinema.
All right, folks. Bye-bye.